everybody, welcome to the Colorado Knits video blog. My name is Carrie, otherwise known as Colorado Knits. You can find me on Instagram, Ravelry, as Colorado Knits. You can email me at hello@coloradoknits.net, and my website is coloradoknits.net. I try to keep my projects up to date there, but I never do. But show notes can be found there for anything that I linked to today. I actually did the show notes in advance, so they are actually going to be there when this goes up. So I hope everyone is doing well. Happy New Year. Today is Friday, January 13th, 2023. Let's see. Let's start with the important stuff. Tomorrow is my dad's 90th birthday. He's an old man. He has been telling us that he's going to be 90 for almost a year. So it's a big birthday, but he didn't want anything because he's my dad. So he can now say he is 90. My husband actually thought he was 90 because he said he's almost 90 so much. And today is also Penny's Gotcha Day. We got her a year ago today. So that's lovely. And it's the beginning of a new year. So I have some thoughts on that. I feel it's a little arbitrary when people are like, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to do this. And good for you. If January 1st does that for you, great. I go in fits and spurts. I'm going to get organized. My knitting room is trashed. So, if that works for you, good for you. If it doesn't, good for you. That's okay. And that's about it. If you're new here, thanks for joining me. I'm a little discombobulated this afternoon. This is actually my second time recorded a fine podcast this morning, but then realized that I was going to focus on my knitting origin story because I thought my knitting origin story anniversary was next weekend, but it's today. So then I was like, oh, I want to go back and talk about that. And then over my lunch hour, I did something that kind of made me happy. I made something, so I wanted to talk about that. So I'm re-recording, and I also babbled a lot this morning about mindfulness and stuff, so I wasn't very mindful of my babbling. So I'm going to scratch the previous recording and we're going to move forward. So thanks for joining me. Thanks for coming back if you're returning. I have a little bit to show of what I've completed and more of what's on the needles and my intentions for the next few weeks. So with that, let's get started. The biggest finished object I have would be my Weekender sweater by Andrea Mowry. The Weekender, it's like an $8 download and you can get it on her website or on Ravelry. I think it's $8. I've had it for quite some time. I've knit several of them. This one is 100% acrylic. It is knit in Knit Picks Brava in Raspberry Speckle, I think it's called. And I got it for $14. I got 5 skeins for $14. So during the Knit Picks big sale, I also am going to do a similar one. This sweater is a light pink and cream background. I think it's actually all light pink. I don't know. But I bought 5 skeins of the same yarn in Blush, which is the extra light, for $5. So I'm going to make a $5 Weekender for myself, or a Flax, or a 2 of 1s. I'm not sure. Or, sorry, not 2 of 1s is the designer. Flax is by Tin Can Knits. 2 of 1s is the designer for the Autumn League pullover. So I'm going to make one of those, basically just probably either a square or a raglan pullover. Some of you might have gasped at the thought of an acrylic sweater, but the reason I do it is I am lazy. This is a sweatshirt for me. This is something I throw on. I can throw in the washer. I can throw it in the dryer. When it dries, it just gets softer and softer. I can spill on it. I can't have nice things. Yes, would I love to knit everything in merino cashmere? Yes. Do I know myself? Yes. So I tend to go with superwash and acrylic. I know acrylic's horrible for the environment. Please, please, please just save your tirades on something else because I'm well aware. So I have this, and it took me about a week to knit, not very long, and I love it. So, so there we go. My iPad, I have my notes over here, and unfortunately I didn't put it on Do Not Disturb, so I'm getting like Instagram notifications and stuff like that, so I apologize. Another finished object. Most of my finished objects have been socks on Pinky Tuscadero, my Dean & Bean sock machine. I knit, I have mastered the afterthought heel. I no longer have big holes and it's not hideous when I do an afterthought heel. So when I do a sock on the sock machine, I will hang a hem because I love a folded hem. Folded hems are my jam on my regular socks too. And then just do a tube and leave it open at the end to do the heel. I will totally cut in the heel and the toe. So what I tend to do is finish the toe and then figure out where the heel needs to go, and however long it is how long it is. So that's, I did a pair of those. This yarn is from Simply Socks Yarn Company. It is their own line of self-patterning yarn. I have not seen it on their site yet. It is, I got it through one of their quarterly yarn clubs. If you don't know about these yarn clubs and you are frugal and like a lot of yarn, or aren't frugal and like a lot of yarn, it's a fantastic yarn club. This one was $110, I think. And I get 3 skeins every month of self-patterning yarn. And the last 2 that I got were not, 2 of the 3 were just not my jam for colors so much. So I thought they'd be good to use on the sock machine. I didn't feel so like, oh, these are gonna be so gorgeous, I have to hand knit them. They are very pretty. I actually like them more than I thought I would. And I recently got a sweater that is this color, a commercial sweater that's close to this color. So I like to wear these with that. So, and I am mastering my sock machine. It is so very exciting. I love it. And then another finished object. I don't think I ever showed these. This is not a recent finish. These are my Yellowstone socks from Mustache Yarn. And I made these 2 at a time, toe up, 2 at a time. And I also have her Big Ben. You can see I did them 2 at a time because there's a little ladder there. I haven't washed these yet. The heels and toes are just random minis I had from my Row One Yarn subscription, but I did these 2 at a time, toe up, and this is called Yellowstone. I have another skein called Big Bend, not Big Ben, Big Bend. She does national parks, and I am in love with the representation, the self-striping. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I also am kind of on a self-striping kick right now. So I want all the self-striping things. So those are those socks, but those were done a while ago. The next pair of socks, these are not finished, but they're finished. I did these on the sock machine as well. This is the first heel that I have done on the sock machine. And struggling to get it on my sock blocker here. Struggle. And I didn't screw it up. And I've gotten really comfortable in using my machine. So this is this yarn. I bought this yarn in 2008 for a conference I had for my company. And we had to wear orange because the company color was orange. It still is orange, it's just not my company. So I bought these and I was like, oh, I'm gonna knit socks. I did not knit socks. I think I got an orange scarf, like a pashmina that I use. Orange is the Denver Broncos color, so I'm fine with that, but that job did not pan out so well. So, but I've had this therefore in my stash since 2008. So I'm like, all right, if I'm gonna learn how to do a heel, I want a yarn that I can frog. Like if I screw it up, I can tear it out and it's not gonna be like splitty or anything like that. And this is Red Heart, Heart and Soul with a touch of aloe or something. I don't even know if they make this anymore. Again, it's 2013. So this was a long time ago. And I thought in the skein, I was like, ew, I don't know about this. I just saw the orange. As it knit up, I actually really dug it. Not my colors at all, but I really enjoyed it. And then I did the heel. on the machine, which is really exciting. And then what I do on my socks, I could put waste yarn here, but there's no need to really, because this is longer than my foot. So I'm going to unravel it to where the toe would start and then do a toe and finish it off. I do have more of this yarn if I need it, but this is how I plan, again, the hung hem. This is how I plan to do my socks on the machine going forward. You can do toe up, you can do whatever you want, but kind of dig this. I do want to try, I'm looking forward to trying a, words are important, fingerless mitt, which is really just a long tube. So I have a pair of those. Haven't decided if these are for me or for my mother. These are totally her colors. She loves these colors. So I'm not sure. I might give them to her, or I might just keep them in the stash to make as gifts. The final finished object that I did not have this morning. This afternoon at lunch, I had just finished a grant proposal and was like, woohoo. So I have nothing pressing until next week. It is Friday. It is, noon on Friday when I decided I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to see if I have not been on my sock machine in a couple of weeks. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to get on it and see if I can crank something out. And I was just going to try it and see where it went. And in 1 hour, I cranked a full pair of socks with a heel. Don't have the toe done, obviously. And this was yarn. This is more of that yarn that I've had. This is from Knit Crate, circa, I am going to guess 2015 or earlier. Knit Crate is no longer in business. And it's very corally. It's representing, back here, it represents pretty true. But as I was putting it on, as I was knitting it, cranking it, it's really Valentine's Day-ish. It's got a little bit, it's got these little flecks of brown that are like chocolate. So my mother always gives me socks on Valentine's Day, like cute little Target little heart socks. So I think I'm going to give these to her. Again, heel. This hasn't been washed, and some of this is going to close up a little and tighten up when it goes in the wash. But I'm really excited about this. I literally knit in an hour. I knit 2 socks. This yarn had gotten a teensy bit of mothing, not much, but it broke in a couple of places, or it might have just been a Craftastic skein that's really old, thinking that it got moth. So I have 2 small balls. I had about 70 grams of yarn, 75 grams of yarn. So when I cranked my first tube, I did put some waste yarn on, thinking, oh, it's not going to be long enough to get to a toe, so I might as well just put on some waste yarn so it's easier to pick up some stitches. I didn't even need that. I will be pulling that out and just decreasing for the toe. The second one, I didn't need that because I just used all the yarn that was left on the cone. And like I said, I have 2 little skeins, or 2 little balls of 15 grams each where they were mothed. And I do, these look very, very different. That's very interesting. It could be how they're on the sock blocker, could be any number of things. I do 105 rows for the leg, including the 30 for the hem. So I'm going to be very curious to see. I did put more weight in one because I was cruising and doing so well. So I'm curious if, now these appear not on the blockers. They appear to be just about the same length. So not a problem. And everybody's legs are different lengths anyway. You have 2 different length legs. But very excited about that. I'm going to make these this weekend. I'm going to put in some toes and give those to my mom and mail them to her as a surprise. Not even like give them to her. I'm going to mail them. So, so those are all my finished objects. I'm most proud. Ooh, I got sock blockers falling all over the place. That's not going to stay. But I'm most proud of these. Like an hour, I cranked out a pair of socks. It's like cranking out a grant in an hour. That's awesome. So yeah, my goal with the sock machine is really to crank out stash. When you look back, and I'm talking about stash from 2008, it's time to go. So even if I just knit things like this with extended toes that I don't finish, at least I have something that I can gift. Because this is a pretty average sock length or leg length. I could also do tubes. and have that, but this is pretty simple. So for anyone in my family, these are going to be great. And then also, if I want to give them, like I gave a pair to my brewer. Yes, I have a brewer. And that's the type of thing I'd like to have, where I don't necessarily want to hand knit a pair of socks, but I do want to give them handmade socks. So that's one of those goals. So whips, let's get on to those. I don't have so many. We'll get to that one. I'm going to start with a baby blanket I've been working on for about a month. This is the Box Stitch Baby Blanket, also called the Prism Baby Blanket by Make and Do Crew. I am using, today is brought to you by Acrylic Yarn. I'm using Lion Brand, Feels Like Butter, and Lion Brand Ferris Wheel. Here's the Ferris Wheel. I have all of this left over. It's lovely. Turns out it's really strong. It's not like roving, but it kind of looks like roving. And it definitely sort of stretches when you pull the baby blanket, but that's all right. This is a free crochet pattern from Make and Do Crew. And I am working on the border, and I hate it because it's actually a pretty big baby blanket. And then you got to do 4 sides of the border, and I'm going to do 5 rows. And I'm doing something called the camel stitch that creates a little knit stitch, sort of. I'm on the 2nd row of it out of 5. So, but I'm going to finish that up this weekend because this is for a colleague of mine who is due in exactly a month. And I would like to get this in the mail to her as well. I did start one of these using the exact same yarn, but a different contrast yarn, not this Ferris wheel, for myself. And I just realized I would rather have a different blanket. I'm kind of tired of doing that pattern. So I'm going to do a star stitch blanket, I think. We'll see. Next whip is the Cozy Up Knits Mini Me Mystery Knit Along for 2023. And I am using Always Be Kind yarn. Course I am. I'm using the main skein from her advent this year, which was Neon Speckles. Look at that. It's gorgeous. It is Neon Speckles. You can see it's got the green, the pink, the blue, the yellow, and the orange. Blue, pink, yellow, orange. So I am therefore going to, sorry, I was counting out loud, use from the Always Be Kind yarn. Oh, my knee hates me. From the Always Be Kind yarn advent calendar, I'm going to be using her Neon Speckles. So it takes 10 minis. So I have 2 orange. One is an orange yellow and one is an orange orange, though they're pretty close. One yellow, because the other yellow was pastel, which is kind of a bummer, but that's okay. Orange, yellow, 2 greens, fairly close, but that's okay because they are all separated by the main color. 2 orange, 2 yellow, 2 green, 2 blue, a blue and a purple, and then a purple. Sorry, there's only 1 yellow, so I have to make it up somewhere. And then a pink, a purple and a pink, like purple to pink and pink. I started with the orange because it is my least favorite, and I wanted to have it, I don't want it next to my face, but it'll be next to my face, and the most you'll see, you won't see a lot because that goes right here and then you tend to cover it. So it's going to be the other colors, which I like a lot more. Coincidentally, I did get this from Apple Yarns, and I'm kind of tempted to throw that in, but because the greens are not very neon-y. So I'm still deciding what I'm going to do. Figure that out in a little bit. So that's what I have work in progress. I have a goal, talking about New Year's. I want to do finish it February because everybody loves alliteration. Finish it February and just get some stuff off the needles. things that I like working on, but have just languished for whatever reason. One of those, I've been loving working on this. This is my Habitation Throw by Helen Stewart, Curious Handmade. And this is using a ton of minis. Well, this is only 11 and one row of another, that I got in the swap from Jen Study. So I am on section 12. I am debating, I have from Jen also these cutie patooties. I have 4 more that I could add in to make this throw just a little bit bigger, and I am seriously thinking about doing that. So I'm either about to be on the decreases or I am on the decrease, or I have 2 more before I'm on the decreases. So hoping to get that done in February. As well as some other projects I have sitting around. I have the Sassy Spirit wrap, which is from Just Run It, which is who is Megan Williams from Stockinette Zombies. I started that a year ago for Stockinette Zombies 22. Never finished it. And it is sitting in one of my favorite project bags as sort of impetus to start it, but all it's doing is making me resent it because I want that project bag. Yes, I could take it out of the project bag, but I'm like 2/3 of the way through. So I just need to push through. That is going to be a finish it February as well. And then I'm going to set a goal of working through some of my stash into socks. Not sure what I'm going to do with that. Haven't fully decided how I'm going to make that work, but I want to sort out what I absolutely like. This is yarn I really want to hand knit, and this is yarn that I could hand knit or machine knit. And then figure out whose birthday is upcoming, who would I like to give socks to, because the yarn's been sitting in the stash for years. And one of the things I say is knit the yarn, drink the bourbon, do the stuff. So I might as well practice what I preach. So that's my goal for 2023. When you look at New Year's and New Year's resolutions, my goal is also in purchasing to be more mindful. I love shiny objects. I also love buying stuff. I don't love using stuff. I love buying stuff. So, and I get swept up in the FOMO and the like, oh, that's cool, I want to be a part of that, of social media. So my goal of 2023 is to do less of that. So like Advent, good Lord, I had the Always Be Kind Advent. I had the Katrinkles Advent. I had 2 swap Advent. And I had commercially, I had Bath and Body Works and Burt's Bees. Like, did I need all that stuff? Absolutely not. Did I enjoy buying it? Yes. To be honest, I didn't even enjoy opening it that much. Like I was like, gotta open like 5 things today. So that's actually one of the reasons I stopped doing Vlogmas. I was like, this has to be boring to you to watch someone open gifts all the time. Gifts that they bought themselves. So I'm trying to be more mindful in what I purchase in terms of everything around our house, but also specifically to yarn. So was supposed to have come today and it didn't come today. I have 2 sweater quantities coming from Knit Picks of their Wonder Fluff, which is the alpaca merino yarn that is blown into a nylon tube. So it's bulky yarn, but it is light as air. I made the night owl sweater out of it in a nice light pink. I bought a turquoise and a blue. My husband chose the turquoise. I chose the navy blue. Because that was on sale. And I also know I can whip one of those sweaters out in 2 weeks. And it will get tons of wear because it is not heavy. Sometimes I like having like a heavy sweater or sweatshirt on. And sometimes you just want something that's warm but light. And that yarn, so nice. So I'm looking at the Turtle Dove 2 by Estas Tricot. Gosh, I can't talk today. And that's a free pattern. I can't find it on their website. I can find the Turtle Dove free pattern on their website. Ravelry has the Turtle Dove 2. The Turtle Dove is a turtleneck. I think the Turtle Dove 2 is a crew neck. So, but it's a raglan, and I am looking forward to knitting that up. I went into Zombie Knitpocalypse in 2022 with ideas. I knew I wanted very specifically hot pink merino cashmere nylon from Sun Valley Fibers for a sweater. I got that. I got the coordinating yarn for that sweater, the contrasting yarn, but it really is coordinating from 3 Irish Girls. That was all I had to get. While we were there, I saw a beautiful shawl and I bought the yarn for that and I started it and it's sitting over there. So that's another finish it February item. But I didn't buy a whole lot of stuff where I was like, this is just pretty. I had ideas for everything. I did buy 2 skeins of yarn from Suburban Stitcher that were for a Musselburgh hat, and that never happened, and it's probably not going to happen. So I have 2 beautiful skeins from Suburban Stitcher, so I might have to bring those to Zombie Knitpocalypse and see what Diane has that I can get that goes with it. But I just want to, instead of just buying the single skeins and also like my husband asked, do you want to go to the yarn store? I'm like, honestly, no. The last couple times. And I want to support my yarn store, but I don't want yarn. So my new thing is notions and needles and cables, needle cables. So ChiaoGoo just came out with swivel cables and they work with your regular stainless ChiaoGoos. So going to be buying those at the yarn shop. So that's my goal for 2023. Yes, get rid of a lot of stash by knitting it or giving it away. It's been mothballed though, so even giving it away, I feel kind of bad. If I knit it and wash it, you won't smell the mothballs. I don't want to wash the yarn. No, I'm not a dyer. I'm not washing yarn. So that's what that is. I was going to tell you my knitting origin story. So, in 2001, I tell this story every year because it means a lot to me, not because it's knitting, because the person it's about. In 2001, on Martin Luther King Day weekend, I got a wild hair that I had to teach myself to knit. Just like Saturday morning, woke up, we lived in Phoenix, and I was like, I'm going to Michael's. I'm going to teach myself to knit, and spent that weekend teaching myself to knit. I think it was Sunday that I taught myself, but was just dead set on teaching myself. So I bought the You Can Knit book and a skein of yarn, whatever, and sort of taught myself to knit left-handed. I had learned when I was young. My best friend's mother taught me to knit when I was 5 or 6. I am very dominant left hand, and I couldn't get it because she was trying to teach me, and then she tried to teach me right-handed, and then she tried to teach me left-handed. It just wasn't working. I could not do it. So I gave up. And I taught myself crochet at like 5 or 6. And so I'm great at crochet. You can do that so easily left-handed. But never had the inkling to knit after that. Molly also learned, but Molly really never, that's my best friend, never really knit after that, I don't think. So I decided in 2001, that's what I was going to do. January 14th, I think, 2001, whatever. Monday was the 15th and it was a holiday. It was Martin Luther King Day holiday. It's the 16th this year. And I got a call from one of my friends that Molly's mom had been killed in a car wreck. And she had been killed on Saturday. And I just thought it was so weird that I had picked up knitting that same weekend that we lost her. So to me, I feel like that was her passing on her craft. Molly knits a little now. She's a physician and has 3 kids and is super busy. So I'm not a physician with 3 kids. I'm not busy at all. So I knit all the time. But I carry that on as her legacy. And every time this time of year rolls around, I think about Anne, and she was goofy. She was crazy. Molly will attest, she actually was crazy. She had some mental illness, but she was a preschool teacher, so she was so fun. And we did goofy things my whole life. When Molly moved to Boston when I was little, they were my next door neighbors. They were my second family. When Molly moved to Boston, we cried all night the night before she was leaving. And her mom came pounding on my mother's door at 4 a.m. asking if I could come with them. They were driving cross country. So I literally threw clothes in a pillowcase and went over with them, and they left for Boston. I went with them and we drove across country. And I have such fond memories of that goofy trip. We went to Battle Creek, Michigan. I remember going to the Kellogg's factory and the Post factory. We went to Ogunquit, Maine. We drove through Lake Placid, New York. We saw all of the country because I guess now as an adult, I realized the furniture was going to be much slower getting across the country than we were. So they took their time and, we were a little touristy and, it was fun. It was great. And so I will always, I have such special memories with Anne that, when I knit, I like to think of her. So that's my knitting origin story. That is the other thing that today is my knitiversary. It is Penny's Gotcha Day and the day before my dad's birthday. So it is also the day I finished a big proposal for work and knit some socks. So nothing out of the ordinary. And that's it. I am curious if you'd like to share how you started knitting. Also, my friends over at the Relentless Knitting Podcast have a thread where they are looking for knitting origin stories and like meet a knitter. And I keep saying I'm going to tell them my story. And I probably should send that to them. But if you'd like to share it there too, it's Relentless Knitting Company. And I think that's it. So thank you for joining me today. I know I shoved a lot into 31 minutes. I didn't babble too much. And in the meantime, I hope that you are doing well, you're happy and you're healthy. Wash your hands. There's a new variant out there. Wash your hands. Wear your mask when you're in crowds. Wash your hands though. Good Lord. And knit the yarn, drink the bourbon, spread kindness like confetti because that shit'll get in everything and you'll never be able to vacuum it all up. And I will talk to you in a couple of weeks, probably with a lot more socks, hopefully not a baby blanket in my possession, and maybe even part of another sweater. Take care, everybody.